G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be covering everything you may or may not have seen from the last 24 hours of FNCS, and there were some big stories. The biggest of which being Mongrel, Mitro, and Benji not even making it out of round 2, just having a terrible tournament all round from round 1 and round 2. We had other big teams not qualifying for finals out of EU, like Jami's team or Thomashd, and this story carried over into NA East as well. We had teams like Centered Edgy Commandment, the Xset Trio, Zayt, Saf, and Stretch, DJ and Skittles, Ages, just so many massive teams not make it into the finals. As far as OCE goes, though, we had our round 4 today. We had our finals, and if this is a sign of things to come for other regions, this FNCS is going to be interesting. We had teams just blatantly straight up admitting that they're not taking the tournament seriously. They won a game. They're not going to try anymore. They're going to grief other teams just because they don't want to directly automatically qualify for the heats because they want to play each week. Epic Games has changed the ruling where if you come top 10 in your round 4 qualifying week, you're not allowed to play week 2 and 3. So teams are deliberately throwing their tournaments and griefing other teams because they don't want to qualify. This has now scared me because NA East pros have taken to Twitter, and different pros from different regions have taken to Twitter to say that they also agree that this ruling is terrible and they're probably not going to take the tournaments as seriously either. The biggest story and the one that everyone was asking me about in stream today was Mongrel, Mitro, and Benji not qualifying out of round 2. It's not that they didn't make the top 33 in round 3. They didn't make the top 250 trios on EU to make it even into round 3. They finished on 308th on 100 points. Qualification was 104, so they're only a few points away, but still, that is a massive letdown for a team that had huge hopes on them, and a lot of people who've been, voicing their opinion in the community and have been getting a lot of flame for it are saying that this is what they were talking about. And if you watched MMB play the games, they weren't looking the greatest. It doesn't look like they just had a few unlucky games. They had a few glitches. They got headshot snipes. They genuinely just weren't playing great Fortnite. I really hope they turn around in the weeks to come, but I also wouldn't be surprised if this trio doesn't last the FNCS. It's not that they're like arguing and they're not having fun playing together. It's just they don't seem to have the team chemistry. It doesn't seem like they want to play together as a team. It doesn't even seem like they're the old MMB. I guess a lot of people are saying without the mobility of shockwaves or the ability to go for those super aggressive hype plays and those really aggressive fights and pushes and still get into zone, they're struggling. I'm not saying this team doesn't have potential. If they can maybe designate one of them to really make the decisions and the other two players, sit back and listen to those calls so it's not so crazy when all three of them are trying to, say what to do, where to go, what's going to happen, they could perform insanely well. They clearly have the potential, but this first tournament, round 1 only just making it through, and then round 2 not making it through at all, it's fair to say they're struggling. They unfortunately weren't the only top tier teams struggling on EU. We also had Aqua, CRI, and Wolfiez after they got back together and had struggles the last few days. Kind of thought they buried the beef and they were going to focus down and play together. Things went the exact same way again, and surely this has to be the last tournament they play together. Wolfiez and Aqua just clearly don't like playing together. They just clearly don't enjoy it and things don't work. We had Aqua tweeting out, looking for trio. All I need is people who don't die and listen to comms and will win FNCS. Then you had Wolfiez responding, ha 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 ha, obviously knowing it's about him. And if this was a once-off tweet, maybe you think they get back together, but this has got to be at least the second or third time they've done this. This has to be it for Aqua, CRI, and Wolfiez. And they're not the only ones. It looks like Letshes struggled yet again. He had a much better outlook though on Twitter. He wasn't as upset about it as what Aqua was. He wasn't pointing the blame, but a lot of people have foreseen that it looks like Letshes will be leaving his team as well. I can't confirm that one, but it just looks highly probable. We had some other really solid teams on EU also not make it through into round 4, but it was by a lot closer margins. Thomash's trio, Kami's trio, and Nayte's trio all not making it despite solid performances, just falling short. Not as much story there as well. I'm sure it was just they kind of got a few things a little bit off. I guaranteed next week they will be back. They will be able to make those qualifying rounds because honestly, those are 3 of the favorites to win FNCS, but sometimes making it into that top 33, things are always going to go wrong when you have those opens rounds. Thought it was worth mentioning in a video after Kami's insane back-to-back 5 in a row wins on EU in the first qualifying round. Things kind of slowed off in round 3, and unfortunately, we won't be seeing them in round 4. Moving on to NAE East, we definitely had our share of big names that didn't qualify. The first of which we have to talk about is Nayte, Saf, and Stretch. And it looks like it was just an issue around Hydro Dam in open rounds, and I kind of saw this coming. It's one of those drops that if a worse team drops on you, it's just an ultimate 50-50. Whether Nayte's team does well with Hydro Dam in finals is yet to be seen, and we're gonna have to wait another week, but they really struggled today. They came in the bottom 10 teams from this round. You had Saf tweeting out mid-tournament, "I've never been more triggered in my life." You had Nayte tweeting out, "If you land Flush Factory and leave in quals, quit the game." You could just see that things weren't really going well. They ended up not placing highly at all. They were nowhere near qualifying. Nayte took to Twitter and made some jokes as well. He said, "No excuses, and I won't explain my luck today, but I had constant pack loss, I had a pouring bloody nose, blah blah blah." He was making a few jokes as well, so they took a pretty lighthearted. Sav's Twitter was a little bit worse as well. He tweeted out a few memes about how upset he was, and then he also tweeted out, it's about to be the worst finals we've ever seen. By the way, horrible qual system / rules. I also couldn't call, so therefore my thoughts do not matter." So he was obviously getting attacked by people saying he was complaining for his own reasons, but he wasn't the only team as well. Nayte, Saf, and Stretch struggled, but so did Centered, Edgy, and Commandment, also not qualifying for finals, along the likes of Degen, Ages, and Skittles, and the Xset trio. Just all favorites to potentially win FNCS, let alone make it into the finals. So I don't know if it's enough room to maybe start questioning the scoring format, question how the qualifications work, because a lot of people really like it, but there's a lot of pros that are quite upset. And when you've got some of the best not making it, it makes you consider it. But most of them got pretty close, and it's still an opens tournament at the end of the day. Anything can happen. With a bit of luck, even the best team is going to struggle. So I wouldn't look into it too much, but the part that concerns me is when you start to move on to OCE. We had round 4 today. We had the grand finals. I was able to cast it for the first time officially on the twitch.tv/OzOpen stream, and it was kind of harder to watch it while casting it, but I could definitely see the players weren't taking it as seriously. They weren't trying as hard due to the change in rules that makes it that once you qualify automatically from a week, once you get top 10, you're not allowed to play in week 2 and 3. So teams are deliberately throwing their tournaments and not trying to make sure they don't get in top 10. I didn't think this was going to be as big of an issue for other regions like NA East, EU, even NA West, where qualifying and getting to the finals, or at least the heats, is a lot more difficult. In OCE, because there's now 4 qualifying heats, which is the top 400 players, it's going to be really easy to get in. Even if you don't get top 10 in either of the 3 weeks, you're still going to be able to do it through consistency, almost guaranteed if you're a decent team. So a lot of the teams that made round 4 today, you could just tell they weren't trying as hard. They were messing around a little bit. There was a few tweets going around. There was a few teams going around. And I feel like the whole point of this rule was to reduce griefing. The reason why Epic put it in place that once you play a week and you automatically qualify, you're not allowed to play week 2 and 3, is pretty much to stop people griefing their spawns. We didn't get them saying as much, but that's my interpretation on it. You might have a different one, but the idea that teams that already qualify then can't try to hold down their drop spots, fight everyone else, chase them around the map, make sure they don't qualify so they're uncontested, they tried to get that out. But in the same way, it's leading to like a different kind of griefing now, and it's hard to put my finger on. We'll see if NA East does it tomorrow, but it's leading to teams just not playing their games as seriously. We had Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax in OCE only play 4 games, making their points fall about 10 points short. Even in their first game, they were running through kids like it was a cash cup, not caring. There's multiple creators and multiple pros who've tweeted out different things along the lines of, "I'm not sure if I even want to play this properly, or whether I just want a W key and have fun with it, because if I qualify, I can't play week 2 and 3, and I want to play week 2 and 3. So I get why Epic put this rule in place. We're gonna have to see how the bigger regions handle it to see whether this rule stays in place. And in theory, I like it, but ultimately, I think it's going to lead to just more griefing when it comes to the finals, the heats, and the grand finals, because now you're going to have teams that can just go into really solid drop spots uncontested because good teams have already qualified from there. And then when it gets to heats and grand finals, they're not going to want to leave, and it's going to push that kind of griefing and all that drama that would normally happen in the qualifying weeks onto the grand finals and heats, and that's where you want it less, in my opinion. You had pros like Chap who've been around since, you know, forever. They've played in every different format, having similar opinions. He tweeted out saying, if you aren't going to put money in FNCS week finals, you need a better incentive, aka top X straight to grand. So not even heats, just going straight to grand finals. He responded saying, in my opinion, there should only be 2 heats in every region as well to keep the games competitive. And that would allow for more grand slots to be taken during the weeks. So 9 teams go straight to grands, but then top 12 teams in each heat go to grand finals. So it's kind of interesting to see how he's playing this one out. I mean, the responses to Saf's tweets say the similar sort of things. You have Nayte responding and no prize pool. It's going to be a grief fest like no other. Spade saying everyone's also playing for no money, so games are about to be dead after game 2. You had Calc saying placement is worthless, 2 points per kill, lol. And as much as I don't fully agree with that after watching OCE, the format is a bit different. A lot of pros aren't talking about it. You're getting 30 points for a win in round 4, where you're only getting 25 points for a win in round 1, 2, and 3, but eliminations are worth 2, not 1. So it's only 15 kills for an elimination, and when you look at the placement format, it's even more strange, or it's even more interesting, where you get over half the placement points for getting top 3. If you come 4th with a couple of elims, you're getting next to no points. But if you come like 3rd, 2nd, 1st, that's where you get those massive jump ups in points. So it's going to be interesting to see. You had Repulse responding XD, XD, and this was after FNCS OCE happened or in the middle of it. So a lot of people guessing the same thing. I don't know if the stack regions are going to have this same mentality, because you'd have to play a big risk to deliberately not qualify when you're in a region where qualification is insanely hard. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some teams pull off some weird things, or what you're going to see is a bunch of really good teams are going to qualify in week 1. They're going to complain on Twitter, they're going to complain on social media, but then week 2 and week 3 is going to struggle. The game quality is going to be a lot worse, especially in those smaller regions. NA East and EU can maybe handle having their 20 best teams already qualified and still have good games week 3, but most regions, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Epic have said they want to have 3 more FNCSs this year. That's why I'm making these kind of videos, to keep this conversation going around formats, around whether you guys are liking it, whether the pros are liking it. The OCE games were really solid today, despite some of those weirder situations. So we'll have to see how NA East goes tomorrow. I will be on the official broadcast if you guys aren't watching it. I won't be streaming it. It'll be twitch.tv/fortnite. I'm really looking forward to it, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. You guys are clearly loving their kind of FNCS recaps, just bringing the main storylines together. I'll try and do some more detailed videos in the weeks to come, or during the week when there's not as many tournaments on. But just for these videos, I kind of wanted to give like a brief just overview of everything that's going on. So if you're liking these kind of videos, please chuck a like on the video. Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.